Hello students. So this is the continuation of the last presentation, which for the reason I have already mentioned that because of the size of the presentation I could not give the whole. So from here onwards I will be giving you the rest of the presentation. So in the last presentation I have already covered till the concept of culture. From this you will get to know what is culture. So by now you already have an idea that what is the concept of culture, right? Basically, it is a man-made environment. So here, when you are asked that what is culture, from the definition point of view, culture refers to widely shared customs, beliefs, values, norms, institutions, and other products of a community that are transmitted socially across generation. So culture may be defined as a shared way of life of a group of socially interacting people and is transmitted from one generation to other generation through socialization and related processes. Okay, so here we will see some of the features of culture. So at first, culture includes behavioral products of others who preceded us. That means it indicates both substantial and abstract particulars that have prior existence in one form or another. So culture includes behavioral products of other people who were there, who existed before us. Our ancestral our ancestors had these behavioral products, and from them we are those products has been transmitted to us. So that is why it indicates both substantial and abstract particulars. Okay, it is not concrete, but it is abstract, and it contains values that will be expressed and a language in which to express them. In every culture you will see that they have their own cultural language. In every community you will see languages, and culture, it is transmitted from one generation to another through language so that they can express their values. Okay, the way we say thank you, the way we greet elder people, it is different in different culture, and that actually is seen through the behavior of the people living in a particular community and bounded by culture. So culture, it contains those values which are basically expressed, and a language is attached to each cultural behavior. Okay, then culture characterized by sharing reflects presence and experience of cultural attributes psychologically. So it is also characterized by sharing. As I have already said that culture, it is transmitted from one generation to another. So it also reflects in the presence and experience of cultural attributes. Now cultural attributes which are psychologically presented, what it will be? So cultural attributes which are shown psychologically basically means that how the culture actually shapes one's behavior. So the personality of a person, the attitudes, the interests, the values, those are all psychologically shown through the cultural attributes as well. Okay. Next, culture involves transmission of learned behavior from one generation to the other within a community. Of course, it doesn't go outside until and unless the person does not move from one place to other place. So as the person moves from one place to other place, he or she also takes with him his or her own culture. So culture involves transmission of learned behavior. Of course, all the behaviors are learned. So whatever we are learning in one particular community, in one particular culture, it is being transmitted to our next generation, and it lies within that community only. The person will not go outside and then learn their behavior. It is not like that. But once we learn our cultural behavior, that stays with us, and that Sometimes it goes with us, but sometimes it is possible that we also, as human beings, we might adapt the uh, cultural behavior, learned behavior from other cultures as well. So here, learning cultures, again, see, you'll understand by this only that we learn the cultures where we stay. Okay, that is why it is said that within a community, we are learning the behavior within a community, not outside of it. Because here, cultural norms, the social norms also plays a major role. Because we have these norms of a society which we have to follow. So that is why the culture involves transmission of learned behavior from one generation to the other within a community, not outside of that community. Next is a term known as enculturation. It is very new for you. I'm sure that you have not heard of it before. So enculturation refers to all learning that take place without direct or deliberate teaching. Enculturation, through enculturation, what we do is that we learn certain ideas, concepts, and values simply because of their availability in our cultural context. There is no deliberate teaching. No one has taught us, and no one has directly made us learn those things. For example, what is vegetable or cereal or food? That concept, those things no one has taught us. So such concepts are transmitted both directly and indirectly and are learned very well because they are an integral part of the life of a cultural group. Okay, so what is a vegetable, what is a cereal, or what is a food? Those things we have seen in our culture within a community. So everything which is available, of course, we learn it deliberately. So enculturation refers to all learning that occurs in human life because of its availability in our socio-cultural context. And a key element of enculturation is learning by observation. As I say that we see what is there available in and around us, and as a result what we do is that we learn from there. We acquire those information, we acquire those knowledge, and then we learn certain things. Every time it is not deliberate, every time it is not direct. So whatever is available in our very social cultural context, those things are only learned, and that basically is referred to as enculturation. So the key element of enculturation is learning by observation, as I said already, and it refers to learning something that is already available. Again, the same thing. So we can also say that natural learning. Okay. So a major part of our behavior is the product of enculturation. For example, in Indian families, many complex activities like cooking is learned by observation. It is not like that one fine day your parents or you, especially your mother, will come and then tell that, come here, today I will teach you how to cut a potato, today I will teach you how to cook. It is not like that. It happens step by step. It is a slow process to learn cooking. Yes, and most of the times we just see, we just look into it, that how the food is being prepared, and we try to learn step by step. There are certain effects of enculturation as well. Let us see that. What is the effect of enculturation? Now, people are generally not aware of its effects. Enculturation, the effect of enculturation, people are not generally aware of it. They are also generally not aware of what is not available in the society to be learned. For example, the importance of cleanliness in the masses of Indian society. Until and unless it was being evoked by outer force, no one was aware of it. Yes? So some things we do deliberately just by looking at others. If we see other people throwing waste in the uh, outskirts of the city or in the city or in the street, your school campus, what you do is that you also used to do earlier. But now, because of this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, you can say everyone is giving importance to cleanliness, yes or no? Other than that, Next effect is that people who are most thoroughly uncultured are often the least aware of the culture's roles in modeling them. For example, respect for elders or being peaceful. So here what is said is that people who are most thoroughly uncultured. Thoroughly uncultured means one who learns everything just by looking, just by observing others. They are the ones who are least aware of their own culture's role. What is their role? What is the cultural role in modeling? That one they are not aware of. Especially respect for elders or being peaceful. It is said that as Indians, we respect for elders, we have respect for elders, and we are also being very peaceful. But on the other hand, you will see that the people of India are most least aware of their own cultural roles because most of them are involved in certain kind of activities where we see that there is no respect for elders, and being peaceful, it is a faraway thought because they are also engaged in certain kind of fights. They will pick any fights. They are so hot-headed people over here. So you cannot say that here because of the cultural role which teaches us to respect for elders, but we are actually showing the opposite. Okay, so try to go through this once again and understand. If you don't understand, ask me. Next term is socialization, and I'm pretty sure the students who have taken sociology, you all have also got or will get about socialization. I just want to make sure that please don't get confused and mix up the terms over what you have learned in sociology and what you are learning in psychology during exam. Okay? Okay, so socialization is a process by which social learning takes place and through which a child acquires the norms, attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors that are acceptable in his or her culture, or we can also say in his or her society. So, socialization is a process by which individuals acquire knowledge, skills, and dispositions which enable them to participate as effective members of groups and society. So, basically, what do you mean by socialization? It is nothing but a process of social learning. Whatever is required in order to socialize in the society and being acceptable in the society as per the societal norms, hmm, so that is learned through the process of socialization. Okay, all the attitudes, beliefs, behaviors, what the others are doing, whether I am I am I being able to fit in the society or not? Am I fit in the society? Or am I being outcasted from the society just because I am not learning how to socialize through the process of socialization? Hmm? So when you're learning to socialize, you need to go through a process which is basically known as socialization. And it is a process that continues over the entire lifespan. Throughout our life, we just try to learn to fit in the society. As a child, we try to fit in the society. As a child, as a teenage, as an adult, we try to fit in the society. Even after that, even being an adult, a middle-aged person, and then even when we are old enough, we still try to fit into society. Because if we go out of the tune and out of the societal norms, we will not be fit into society. If we keep ourselves away from people, from our neighbors, if we just keep ourselves locked in a room, of course, there socialization is not taking place. In order to socialize, it is very important that we meet people, hmm, and we behave in a acceptable way in the society. So that is why it is known as a continuous process. which continues over the entire lifespan, and through which one learns and develops ways of effective functioning at any stage of development, just like I said. The socialization forms the basis of social and cultural transmission from one generation to the next. There are certain socialization agents who help us in attaining the socialization process or helps us in social learning. So here a number of people who relate to us possess power to socialize us, and such influencers are regarded as socialization agents. Okay, here parents and family members are the most significant socialization agents, and legal responsibility of child care too lies with parents, and their task is to nurture children in such a manner that their natural potentials are maximized and negative behavior uh, tendencies are minimized or controlled. So since each child is also a part of a larger community or society, so several other influencers also operate on his or her life other than parents and family. Okay, so there may be teachers, peer groups. So those influencers only, the socialization agents, we will see now. So first is parents. Now parents have the most direct and significant impact on children's development because yes, it is the parents who are our primary source. Yes, as soon as we are born on this earth, we meet our parents. They are always there. So they encourage certain behaviors by rewarding them verbally, that is praising. So here, if we do certain things which is acceptable and which fits to the norms of the society, the parents will praise us, and as they praise our behavior, we will try to do the same behavior. We will repeat the behavior again, which is acceptable, which is praised. And what they do is that they also discourage certain behaviors through non-approving behaviors. That means if something is not suitable, of course they will not approve it, they will not praise it. They might also they might also punish us for certain behaviors which is not suitable. So the conditions of life in which parents live, it may be poverty, illness, job stress, nature of family, that also influence the styles they adopt in socializing their children. Now, studies indicate that parents vary enormously in the treatment of children in terms of their degree of acceptance and degree of control. Okay. Now, what happens is that, of course, if our behaviors is suitable and acceptable, they will praise us and we will repeat the behavior. And if the behavior is not suitable, if we keep on showing our temper tantrums, of course it is not acceptable and they will punish us, and as a result what we will do is that we will not repeat the behavior again. So that is one cause why they are helping us in learning the behaviors and how to behave in a society. Hmm? Now, depending on the situations that provide them with a variety of positive experiences, learning opportunities, and challenges, there are also different styles which parents adopt. Hmm? So, parenting styles, it differs from one society to other society, and of course from one home to other home. It is not same. They adopt their own strategies, and which are generally known as parenting styles. A distinction is made between authoritative, authoritarian, and democratic or permissive parenting styles. There are some parents who are not very strict with their parents, and some are very strict with their parents, and some are there who give ample freedom to the child. Now, when there is ample freedom, there also the child might go wayward. Hmm? And if the parents are very strict and they adopt the authoritarian style as well as the authoritative style, that happens that the child might not be free, or they might not get liberal or enough space in order to develop their own personality, or basically it might develop or hamper in some way or other in their life. So studies indicate that parents vary enormously in the treatment of children in terms of the degree of acceptance and degree of control. Now the conditions of life in which parents live, that actually influences the styles that they adopt in socializing their children. Even grandparental proximity and network of social relationships play a considerable role in child socialization, directly or through parental influences. Okay, so this is how parents play a role in being a socialization agent. Now next agent we have is school. Now school, where children spend a very long time, yes, 6-7 hours in school they spend, and which provide them with fairly organized setup for interacting with teachers and peers. Now as you know that school is a miniature society. Miniature society, as the students come from different regions of the state. Hmm? From outside of the state also sometimes you do meet certain children. Then teachers also, they come from different parts of the region, and then they meet in the school. And the school environment is set up like that. And that is why it is known as the miniature society. Now children learn not only cognitive skills, that is reading and writing or doing mathematics, they just don't learn that, but they also acquire many social skills like the way of behaving, how to behave with elders and their age mates. They will not behave the same way as with their teachers, and the same way with their friends or the batchmates. They will not behave in that same way. And accepting roles which are fulfilling responsibilities, etc. These are all learned by them in school. And several other positive qualities such as self-initiative, then self-control, responsibility and creativity are encouraged in schools. And that is why we find that even poor parents want to send their children to good schools. That is the reason why every parent wants their children to at least have their basic schooling. And that's the reason why school is one of the socialization agents. Next is peer groups. Of course, without peers, without anyone, it is a little bit difficult to uh, polish our social learning, our behaviors. Because if we do some wrong things, it is our friends sometimes that they help us in correcting it, and sometimes, yes, some bad company, they might lead us to a wrong way. But most of the times, if we can if we are able to find a good company, then they are the ones who teach us how to socialize and what is the good way to fit in the society, and not to be um, antisocial. So friendship provides children not only with a good opportunity to be in the company of others, but also for organizing various activities collectively with the member of their own age. Okay, so in the peer groups, what happens is that they share qualities like trust, mutual understanding, role acceptance, and fulfillment develop on interaction with peers. So these are the qualities. These are the qualities that the peer groups share among themselves, and they also develop this. And when we are in a peer group, when we are with our friends, we also start to develop a sense of self identity, which is greatly facilitated by the peer groups. Okay, and last socialization agent is media influences. So the exposure to violence on television enhances aggressive behavior among children. And in recent years, media has also acquired the property of a socializing agent. Therefore, children learn about many things from newspapers, television, books, and cinema, and even social platforms, digital media. Nowadays, more than the television, the youths learn about socialization or socializing themselves through this social platforms, social media platforms. Yes, and this media influences to a great extent that how to behave in certain way and not in other way. Okay, so these are the four agents of socialization, and other than this four you can also add up some more if you feel like. Of course there are these clubs and teams, religious groups are there, then you can also mention about the relatives. Okay, workplace. So these are some of the other socialization agents which you feel that it is helpful, and they are also a part of socialization agents or influencers. You can add them other than this four, but most importantly these four are the basic influencers or the socialization agents in one's life. Now another important term to understand is acculturation. Now, acculturation refers to cultural and psychological changes resulting from contact with other cultures. Okay? Now, don't get confused with enculturation and acculturation. Try to go through these two topics once again. And before that, acculturation refers to cultural and psychological changes which is resulting from contact with other cultures. Now, contact may be direct, that is, when one moves and settles in a new culture, or indirect, that means through media or other means. Yes, it may be voluntary, that means when one goes abroad for higher studies, training, job, or trade, or involuntary, that is through colonial experience, invasion, political refuge. Involuntary, those are migrants are there, no, sometimes. So those are regarded as involuntary. Political invasion, political refuge, then invasion, the refugees, they are the involuntary ones. And then this acculturation is what? Certain kind of cultural or psychological changes. When we are in contact with other cultures, basically we have some kind of friction, and then we try to either change our culture, own culture, or either we want to give our culture to others. Okay, so when there is this contact with other cultures, basically there are certain cultural psychological changes, and that is in simple terms referred to as acculturation. Now, acculturation can take place at uh, any time and in anyone's life, and whenever it occurs, it requires relearning. We already have learned something. Now, when acculturation occurs, it requires that we learn once again, relearning of norms, values, dispositions, and patterns of behavior. And changes in these aspects require re-socialization. Again, we need to fit in the other culture as well. If we want to adopt other culture, or if we are coming in contact with other cultures, of course, there is first of all acculturation is taking place, and when there is acculturation, we already have our own culture one, yes, and we already have gone through this socialization process. Now with acculturation, we again need to re-socialize our changes. Now for any acculturation to take place, contact with another cultural group is essential. Of course, without any contact with other cultures, there is no need, or there does not arise only about acculturation. So in order to acculturation to take place, there must be an essential condition that there is contact with another culture or another cultural group, and this often generates some sort of conflict. Since people cannot live in a state of conflict for a long time, They often resort to certain strategies to resolve their conflicts, and this is the reason why we people either try to adopt it or we try to just withdraw ourselves with the other culture. Okay? Now, changes due to acculturation may be examined at subjective and objective levels, two levels. At the subjective level, changes are often reflected in people's attitude towards change, and they are referred to as acculturation attitudes. This is at the subjective level, where subjective means our own perspective. Okay, individual perspective, and the changes are often reflected in people's attitude. Whether what kind of opinion I hold, what is my viewpoint, that basically is attitude, and this is reflected in individual people's attitude towards change. Okay, so that is why, because it involves the attitude part, so it is regarded as acculturation attitudes. And at the objective level, changes are often reflected in people's day-to-day behaviors and activities, and they are referred to as acculturation strategies. So at the objective level, what is reflected, the changes are reflected in what the people do, okay, the behavior and the activities which they do day to day, in their day to day activities or behaviors, whether there is any change or not, that is seen in the objective level, something which can be observed, and these are referred to as acculturation strategies. Clear? Now, so based on people's positive or negative answer to the issues, here are some of the acculturative strategies which has been derived, and these acculturative strategies are being adopted by individuals during the course of acculturation. So the first one is known as integration. Now here four strategies are there. Okay? Try to understand it nicely and don't mix it up. Because the conditions, these are basically, we can also say conditions, and the strategies as well. So here, very simple and easy to understand if you get to know and clear the concept. Now, integration, it refers to an attitude in which there is an interest in both maintaining one's original culture and identity while staying in daily interaction with other cultural groups. So in this case, there is some degree of cultural integrity maintained while interacting with other cultural groups. So in simple terms, a person who is involved in acculturation, of course there is another culture, so basically two cultures are always there. Okay, one your own and other is the other one. So in integration there is an interest, so basically it refers to an attitude, and it in integration there is an interest in both, that means in maintaining one's original culture and identity, as well as while staying in daily interaction with other cultural groups as well. Second is assimilation. Assimilation refers to an attitude which people do not wish to maintain their cultural identity, and they move to become an integral part of the other culture. Okay, so in this case what happens is that there is loss of one's culture and identity. So in assimilation, a person is more interested in other culture and also wants to attain the other cultural identity. That is why the person moves on to become an integral part of that other culture. So as a result, what happens? He or she loses his own culture and identity. Third is separation. Now, separation refers to an attitude in which people seem to place a value on holding on to their original culture and wish to avoid interaction with other cultural groups. So, in this case, what happens? People often tend to glorify their own cultural identity. So there are some people who are so much into loving their own culture that they just don't want, or they just don't want to connect with the other culture. So as a result, what happens? They avoid the interaction with other cultural groups. Yes, if the person have to move to other place, of course automatically there is acculturation over there, because you are moving to a different culture. Suppose from India we are going to USA. Of course their culture and our culture is different, but after moving there, if we don't want to interact with them, their cultural group, and we just hold on to our original culture, of course we are avoiding them, and we are so glorifying in our own cultural identity. So there we are holding a different kind of attitude, hmm? Because we are holding on to our own culture, original culture. So here separation comes into scene. This is a strategy. And the fourth one is marginalization. Now, marginalization refers to an attitude in which there is little possibility or interest in one's cultural maintenance and little interest in having relations with other cultural groups. So, in this case, people generally remain undecided about what they should do and continue to stay with a great deal of stress. Now, in marginalization, what happens? The person, he is into another culture, he or she, so they have little possibility or interest in their own cultural maintenance, that how they will maintain their own culture, and they also have little interest in having relations with other cultural groups, and basically they remain undecided that what they should do, whether they should stay in their own culture or they should just adopt the other culture. So as a result, they have a great deal of stress because they have interest in both culture, their own as well as other. Okay, now this one, how it differs from integration. In integration, there is an attitude where there is an interest in both. Again, see how it is different. Now in integration, what happens? There is, the person is maintaining his own cultural identity but also staying in daily interaction with other cultural groups. Okay, that means the person is having some degree of cultural integrity maintained while interacting with other cultural groups in integration, whereas in marginalization the person is confused. In integration the person is clear what to do. Getting the point? And assimilation, there is loss of one's own culture and identity because the person moves on to become an integral part of the other culture. And in separation, the person avoids the other cultures, and he or she is also avoiding interaction with the other cultural groups because the person is glorifying his or her own cultural identity. Getting the point? So these are the four acculturative strategies adopted by individuals during the course of acculturation, and you all please go through these four strategies and be very sure about what is the terms which is involved in these strategies. Okay. Last topic of our chapter is genes and memes. Genes, you all know, it is the carrier of heredity, and it is also the unit of hereditary information. This is a short chromosome segment composed of DNA, and genes are blueprints for cells to produce and manufacture the proteins that maintain life. Simple as that. What about memes? This is totally new, yes? Or you have already seen in social media. Memes. Memes are what? Memes are the DNA of human society, influencing every aspect of mind, behavior, and culture. Okay, so basically genes, it refers to the biological part, and memes are the cultural part. Genes, as we know, it is transferred from our ancestors generation after generations. Memes are also transmitted from one generation to another, from the point of culture. and it is nothing but it is aspect of one's mind and behavior, and also it depends on what one culture or society looks into the matter, and they make the memes as it. Yes, in social media you all have seen so many memes, and nowadays you all also know what our memes are. So what is this? They will take a photo or any picture, anyone's picture, and then in Assam the meme will carry certain kind of Assamese dialogues maybe, hmm? Or even Bengali dialogues or even Hindi dialogues in India. Hmm? And then if we move to the Western countries, the same photo, if you give it to them and tell them to make memes out of it, they will give some of the dialogues which is related to their culture. And some of the memes are such that we don't understand also, because that doesn't belong to our society, our culture. And our culture, our memes, maybe the Westerners do not understand. Getting the point? So memes are also moving from one culture to another culture. Now, genes write the script of biological transmissions, whereas memes write the script of cultural transmissions. The genes and memes work together to allow behavior to unfold partly in some similar and partly different ways within and across the societies. Okay? So therefore, human behavior is not fully under the control of biological factors alone. And this is the reason why social cultural factors interact with biological dispositions of individuals to give a particular shape to their behavior in a given society. Since societies and cultures across the globe are not homogeneous, they are not similar, isn't it? It varies, it is heterogeneous. So human behavior is also not expressed in the same way everywhere. Therefore, the cultural way or the biological way, they have their own way of processing their behaving way, and also it depends on one's aspect of mind and behavior. Genes, biology part, memes, the cultural part. Okay? Now in the next slide, I have given some of the questions for you to solve. Just do it and show it to me. So these are the questions for you to solve. Go through it and you have to write the answer by yourself. Answers you will get it in your book, and also if you go through the slides you can get some of the answers. Direct answers also you will get it in the book. And please go through the entire chapter once again and try to understand, though we will discuss in the live session. So this is it. With this, our this chapter 3 is over. Okay, so in the next presentation I will be starting with chapter 4. Okay, thank you.